Alright folks, I'm going to give you a more in-depth breakdown of what happened to me when I turned myself in for my charges. So, number one, I went into the sheriff's office where you go to do paperwork, and I told them that I need to turn myself in for warrants, and they handed my ID. They told me to hand me they told me to hand them my ID and sit down. I sat down for about 30 minutes thinking, maybe I should ask for my ID back and just get the fuck out of here. But no, I sat around, and about 25, 30 minutes later, a young sheriff walked up to me, asked me what my name was. I confirmed my name, and he told me to stand up, and he handcuffed me with my hands behind my back. Now, he took me to the other side of the door, and he started asking me questions. He started asking me questions about my address, my race, my tattoos, my height, my weight, my phone number, that type of stuff. Just making sure that they're going to be able to contact me when they let me go. Make sure that they know they're asking my race, to make sure that I'm put with people that are friendly with whites, because in California jails, racial politics exist, whether you like it or not. So I get walked to the processing entry part of the jail, and I sit down on a bench. I'm not in the holding tank yet. I sit down on a bench, and then I get walked into a familiar nurses station that I've been to before, and I'm sitting down. I sit down, and they check my blood pressure. There is a sheriff there reading some paperwork and laughing and looking at me and laughing, and then looking at the paperwork, and I'm like, oh my god, he's reading about all the dumb shit that I did last time I was here. And they check my blood pressure. My blood pressure's high because I'm back in this awful place where I fucked up really bad. And they're like, is your blood pressure normally high? I'm like, no, but I'm in jail, so I'm a little stressed out. I'm like, oh, okay. And and to this day, I wish I could read what that jail report says about me. It's probably mind-boggling. But so yeah, they ask me some questions. I tell them I need a certain medication to go to sleep and not be an animal. And they're like, yeah, sure, whatever, kid. And then they send me into the holding tank. Now, let me tell you about this holding tank. So, I'm in this holding tank. A person that has voluntarily turned themselves in. Then there's this nice, clean-cut Mexican kid who can't be older than 25 years old, who's sitting in this tank because he went to court, but he had some doofus lawyer fuck him over and not show up to his court date, and they gave him a warrant or some shit. I mean, he could have been a snitch or some shit, I don't know, but he seemed like a nice kid that got fucked over by his lawyer, and he was just in that tank. He was just in that holding tank just to be signed out and released. And then there was this black dude in a red jumpsuit, and he was from another state, and after listening to him, him and the Mexican dude were talking to each other. The Mexican dude was really nervous because they had me in there, and then he had this crazy looking black dude in a red jumpsuit. So he's talking to the black dude. Black dude's like, yeah, I'm here for attempted murder and gang enhancements. I got he was like, I got an 18-year sentence and blah blah blah. And I'm just kind of like listening, not really doing much. It's just us three, and finally they let me out, and the officer there's this big fat officer that like processes you in. He's like the main processing guy. He's like a sergeant or a lieutenant, and he's a pretty grumpy, mean old man. He's not super old, but he's just a mean, grumpy old man. He's actually a decent guy. Like, say when you're not fucked up on a million drugs, he's a decent guy if you talk to him like a normal person. And he sits me down. He tells me all of my charges, and he tells me that my bail is $60,000, or it was around that number. It was high, and where I'm from, you have to pay like 3 to 10% of your bond. So right as he turns his back, I throw my the pen that I'm using to sign all this paper. I'm just like, damn, and I don't make any noise. I don't want to startle this big ass dude. He could have just fucking wrecked me and like did a sumo wrestler throw on me. And I throw this pen on the ground. I'm like, damn it! I got $60,000 in bail. I'm not gonna be able to be here for Thanksgiving or Christmas. Why did I do this? And I look back in the holding cell window, and that Mexican kid that's dressed up for court is looking at me like, and I was like, and I walk back in there, and Mexican guy's curious, like, oh, what happened, dude? And I'm like, I got popped for all the charges that I turned myself in for, and I'm not going to be able to leave until the judge tells me I'm going to be able to leave. And next thing you know, I'm using the phone. I'm just like, hey, bail company, can you get me out of here? They're like, fuck no. No. Hell no. and I'm like, shit. And I noticed that black dude with the red jumpsuit is just smirking, just like, and I'm like, I want to be like, what the fuck are you laughing about? But then I realized this guy's here for like 18 years. This guy in this red jumpsuit is here for like 15, 18 years. He's the same age as me. Probably got arrested when he was like 18 or 17. And I'm in here trying to talk my mom into bailing me out of jail for an amount of money that would put us, it would fuck us up. And I realized, like, he's laughing because, like, dude, this is not that big of a deal. I've been there before, and just all of the above. And I just sit my ass down and just accept the fact that I did my research, and I should be able to leave sooner than later. So I start talking to the Mexican dude. I'm purposely not conversating with this black guy because I've always been told just to try not to interact with the opposite race like that. So I'm telling amigo that, yeah, I got in trouble here. I left the state. I went to New Jersey, which had the same type of heroin problems but way worse. And me and black dude kind of nod at each other like, yeah, the heroin over there in New Jersey is really bad. And eventually Mexican dude gets let out on his own recognizance because whatever would happen with his court. And black dude was originally there because he was transferred there from Arizona because of some sort of shooting, another shooting that happened, and he said it was like a mix-up because he has like a twin brother or something weird like that. I wouldn't be surprised if he was a snitch too, dude. Like, it was just a weird situation. Like, how do you go from a maximum facility in Arizona to a county jail, like a random county jail in Northern California? So yeah, they sent his ass off. I'm still in there. I'm telling the officers like, yeah, I might get bail or something, and finally I'm like, yeah, I'm probably not gonna get bail. Just house me, and then this big ass this big ass Mexican dude comes in. I don't know if he was a northerner or a southerner, but he was big. He was a big boy. He was very friendly, and I asked him about working out and shit. And next thing you know, um, another black dude comes in to our older OG black dude comes in. He smells like duty. He just smells like a old shitty homeless person, and we both get let out. That big dude lets me out one last time and classifies me, and he's basically saying like, dude, last time you were here, you were a fucking animal. Like, are we gonna have these same problems? And I was like, listen, last time I was here, I was on drug A, drug B, drug C, drug D, drug F. Like, I was on a lot of drugs, and it still horrifies me to this day of how I behaved last time I was there. Like, I'm sober this time. I voluntarily turned myself in, and yeah. So because of the way I acted, instead of getting put into the security housing unit, this time I get put into low security in my own cell. You see, kids, when you behave after misbehaving, when you behave after grossly misbehaving, there are rewards for behaving like a regular person. And one of these rewards is having your own cell. So, I am sent to the low security dorm. There's there's 2 levels. I walk in, there's like a shower section to the right. Straight ahead is the stairs to go upstairs, and then downstairs. They send stinky black guy upstairs, and I go downstairs to my own cell, and I wait for my cell to pop. I have my cot and my blankie and all that, all my paperwork and whatnot in my arms as I'm not really looking at anybody, but I notice that there's like a gang member signing like to another gang member at another pod, and so as my door pops and I'm trying to put all of my I'm trying to make my bed, that gang member dude and this OG black dude kind of walk to the edge of my cell, and I turn around real quick. I'm like, "What's up? What are you doing?" And then I turn back around and I try to make my bed again, and they pop over there again. I'm like, "What's up?" And I'm tense. Like, I'm in jail. I'm ready to fight. I'm a really nice guy, but when I'm in jail, I'm just a very agitated, volatile person. And basically, they just popped in there to let me know that there was like recreation going on, and after I finished my bed, I could go out and recreate with all the boys out there. So that's what I did, and so after I make my bed, I slam the door. Like, I'm just stressed, and I slam my fucking door like pow, like hella hard, and I sit down on one of the stainless steel tables by myself. I have my back to the phones, but I could see mostly everybody else, and I'm just like looking around. Like, it doesn't look that serious. It's not like segregated. There's like old white men and old black men chit-chatting together. I see like a middle-aged white dude and a younger white dude playing chess, talking to each other, and then there's like white people on the phone, and so I just sit down, and eventually the door cracks, and this sheriff brings a bunch of books over. I grab like 3 books and stand up, and then I introduce myself to the young white guy and the middle-aged white guy, and I decided to start playing chess. I'm just talking with them. The little white guy says he's there for his second DUI. Middle-aged white guy is there for being a meth head and like fucking around, like domestic violence. And yeah, we're just shooting shit, fucking talking about random bullshit, and just for some reason, like I just want to beat up this little kid. I want to beat up this little white kid, and he was just like arrogant, and he was claiming a neighborhood that I wasn't very friendly with, and he just seemed like one of those white kids that thought the blacks were gonna have his back, and I don't know. I was just in a very bad mood, and next thing you know, the middle-aged white dude whispers in my ear, telling me that little dude like was talking some wild shit, like he stabbed somebody in the neck with some arsenic or something like that. Stabbed somebody in the neck with a syringe filled with arsenic, and yeah, then that's when it clicked. I was like, oh, my intuition's right. Like, the reason I want to fuck this dude up is because he's a piece of shit. But yeah, next thing you know, I go back to my cell. I lay down, start reading all these books that I collected. I remember reading Alexander Dumas. He's a French author. He wrote The Three Musketeers. I read like a children's version of The Man in the Iron's Mask. It was pretty cool. And then I read another book about a lawyer that worked for a law firm that sued people, and yeah, just basically jail is it's like 99% mental, 1% physical. Like 1% you're physically there, and 99% you're just trying to read books and get out of the place that you're at. But yeah, as I was laying down, some black dude was like, that sandwich looks good. I'm like, yeah, whatever, dude. See you later. Bye. Don't talk to me. And yeah, I had a hard time sleeping. I woke up the next morning to a lot of yelling and just like all these fucking angry middle-aged white dudes just like, hey, you shouldn't be fucking yelling while we're sleeping. And rah, rah, rah. And I'm like, what the fuck? And they didn't open my door for the morning. And I asked the dude that I was talking to earlier, I'm like, dude, why didn't they crack my door? And then I read in like the little inmate handbook that I was supposed to make my bed before I crack my door, before the door gets cracked, which is kind of a good thing, because I didn't want to just be sitting out in that rec yard that morning with all these crazy skinheads yelling and shit. Like, yeah, man, it's just a very stressful, angry place. And yeah, eventually I had court. I had court in later that morning. I remember I wrote a list of different reasons I wrote a list of different reasons that I should be out of jail today. And I wrote down that list and I gave it to my lawyer. And I think that really helped because not only was she known for being a great public defender, but I feel like I helped her by giving her like 8 extra tips on why I should get out that day on my own recognizance so that I could go to my different court cases. Now, they did grant this, and I was released. I remember I got handcuffed. I got handcuffed to get released to like the release station to get out, and my handcuffs were really loose. And the same dude that let me in, he asked me. He was like, "Yo, why are your handcuffs so damn loose?" I'm like, "Huh?" He's like, "Why are your handcuffs so loose?" Huh? And then he looks at the door that I'm gonna get released to, and I look at the door I'm gonna get released to, and I'm like, "Oh, it was that girl. That girl handcuffed me. That girl, that new girl. She don't know how to handcuff." He's like, "Yeah, I don't like that girl." And to be honest with you, I don't like that girl either, because I remember when she did cell checks. Next thing you know, you hear the hump, 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 hump. That's another thing I wanted to tell you guys. While I was trying to sleep, I heard fucking sex noises, while I was trying to sleep, I heard somebody's head getting kicked in. While I was trying to sleep, I heard screaming from just mentally ill people. And yeah, and for sure, some of the guards were throwing that ass because, I mean, I just like to mentally think that it's a guard giving up the ass and not some poor dude getting his ass pummeled. But yeah, so eventually I got out about 30 hours later, and I go home and tell funny stories about ladyboys and toilet wine to my family while I eat my favorite food. And yeah, a couple months down the road, I ended up beating all my cases. Bye.